Yo, what's good? What's going on, everyone? Hope you're having a great day. It's Neff, and today we're going to be looking at 5 mistakes you're probably making on Vengeance Demon Hunter and Mythic Plus. But before we get into the video, I do want to shout out my Discord. We're over like 1,000 members now. We're some like-minded people talk about Demon Hunter, and if you're interested in that, there's a link in the description. My Discord is also where you can download my UI. My UI is available for Twitch subs and patrons. On Patreon, it's only $3 USD, and obviously you can use like a Twitch Prime or anything like that. So if that's also something you're interested in, there's links to Patreon and Twitch in the description, and also you need to join my Discord for that. So there's a link for that. UI is updated for 10.1, and it will be updated for 10.1.5 for all specs and raid and dungeons and everything like that. Anyways, let's get straight into the video. So the first thing we're going to talk about is the Vengeance Demon Hunter builds that are going around. So there are so many builds for Vengeance going around because Vengeance kind of suffers from success in this area where all of our capstones have really high value, like Last Resort, Soul Crush, and Down in Flames. Ideally, you would want to be able to have all 3 of these, but it's just not possible. So there's been this build that plays Last Resort. So this build is very good if you're scared of randomly getting one shot. But this build really requires you to play around demon spikes because it feeds the demon. So if you're mismanaging your demon spikes, you're not going to have a fun time on this build. I really don't recommend this build for anything lower than a 24, even though I don't really recommend this build at all because you're missing out on a ton of healing and damage reduction from frailty, and you also lose out on a ton of single target damage, which is not good. The next build is a variation of the Soul Crush build, which I highly recommend. So here we're putting 1 point into Burning Blood for a bit of extra damage. We only put 1 point into Agonizing Flames, and then we go down the middle into Extended Spikes, which is very good for demon spikes uptime and will really help us out in the longer lasting pulls. This is the build that I recommend everyone to play, no matter the key level, unless you really need a cheat death, which if you're playing around your fiery brand properly, you should not need a cheat death. There's some mechanic or like some pull that's just impossible to do without a cheat death, then and like the super high keys, then I recommend you playing the cheat death build. But if you're doing 23s, 22s, you should not need a cheat death like ever, as long as you're pressing your buttons correctly. So the next build we'll look at is very similar to the last build, except it's a bit better for damage. So we're now putting 2 points into Agonizing Flames and 2 points into Burning Blood. Then we skip out on the Volatile Flame Blood, and we go down to the right and take Revel in Pain. So Revel in Pain is a decent absorb shield we get from Fiery Brand, which we constantly have up, but it only works for your primary Fiery Brand. It does a decent amount of healing overall on a key. It'll really help you survive these pulls without extended spikes, because you'll constantly have that absorb shield up because you're constantly applying and dropping Fiery Brands. So I don't know if you'd be making a mistake with many of these builds. It's more so just kind of like what build I recommend over the other builds that should be played in Mythic Plus. So the second build I showed, it's here on the screen, is what I recommend you should play for just about every single key. So anyways, we'll move on to mismanaging your 4-sip. So this Weakaura here, it's made by Zeph in the Demon Hunter Discord. It makes your 4-piece extremely easy to track. How it works is it tracks how many more souls you need to consume until you get a free Fiery Brand from your next Fracture cast. This Weakaura will really help you keep track of your next free Fiery Brand, so you don't overlap your Fiery Brands, because currently the way Fiery Brand works right now with the 4-set, if you do not have a Fiery Brand up and you apply it through your 4-set, it'll apply a 5-second Fiery Brand. And then if you apply Fiery Brand at the same time, like yourself, the duration of that Fiery Brand will not be increased. It'll just go to the regular Fiery Brand duration from your actual cast. But if you do it the opposite way, if you cast Fiery Brand and then use your 4-piece proc, you'll have a 15-second Fiery Brand. So they said they were going to remove this extension from the 4-piece, but I was talking with a dev in the Demon Hunter Discord, and I like to think that I helped get this get that change reverted, so we could still extend our Fiery Brand. Because if it wasn't possible like this, having to hold a Fracture because you don't want to overlap Fiery Brand uptime would just feel really bad, and I'm glad they did not make this change. This other thing we have here is a Plater mod, and I'll show you how to import that. Basically just go to Plater mods and you click this little button here, and then you just import the string into here and you'll have the mod, and it's fairly simple to import those, so that's nice. So what it does is it changes the color of the mob that has the longest active Fiery Brand from you, and there's also options added to ignore certain mobs, like the fodder to the flame demons, and you could add mobs in there if you want. But this is a really sick plater mod. It was made by Relo, so shout out to him and shout out to Zeph. Yeah, having these two tools here will make managing your force set very, very easy. And I think that's something that a lot of people are having an issue with, because, you know, at minimum in a Mythic Plus key, your uptime on Fiery Brand should be at least 70%, and it should really even be higher than that. There are times in Mythic Plus, you know, in the higher keys where you can have a 100% uptime on Fiery Brand if you're playing with your souls properly and you're playing with your force set properly, extending the right Fiery Brand so it's like up all the time and they always spreading around and stuff. And yeah, just playing around your force set is a huge difference. And, you know, knowing what you need to do with your force set, like extending the longest Fiery Brand or not overlapping your Fiery Brands with your force set and an actual cast. Next thing we'll look at is resource management. You're not properly spending your Fury, either not generating enough by pressing your buttons or you're not spending all of your Fury. I see a lot of people that ask for help. I look at their logs, and some people, they never drop below like 40 Fury. You know, they're just sitting there casting Fracture at 40 Fury when they could, you know, throw out a Soul Cleave and heal them a little bit. Or if they had 3 or 4 fragments out, you know, they could Spirit Bomb. Capping resources on Vengeance Demon Hunter is very, very bad, because that resource is how you know, do all of your damage, and it's how you do all of your healing. Yeah, it's a pretty simple thing. Don't always worry about trying to have soul fragments out. You know, just spend your Fury. If you have Fury, you probably want to spend it. Obviously you don't want to do, you know, like Fracture, Soul Cleave, Fracture, Soul Cleave, Fracture, Soul Cleave. That's not going to be good. You know, obviously you want to get the 5 soul fragments when you can. So say you just Spirit Bombed and then you Soul Cleaved, and then now you're fracturing. That's not what you want to do. You want to do something like Spirit Bomb, Soul Cleave, spend all your Fury, then double Fracture, and then, you know, Spirit Bomb again. Just don't always worry about using your Fracture charges. You want to spend your Fury. That's what's going to keep you alive, and that's what's going to do the AoE. Which brings me to my last point, soul fragment spending. A lot of people, you know, they think they only Spirit Bomb at 5 soul fragments, or some people think you just Spirit Bomb whenever you can with 1 soul fragment, which is kind of true. But most of the time you're looking to Spirit Bomb and AoE whenever you have 4 or more soul fragments outside of meta, and then 3 or more soul fragments inside of meta. And that's the reason when you're in meta, you know, you do 1 single Fracture and it gives you 3 soul fragments, so you can just Spirit Bomb straight out of that, and you can spam that while in meta, and you'll heal a fuck ton and do a ton of damage. A lot of people think that meta for Vengeance isn't really a DPS gain, but you gain additional soul fragments from your abilities, and then you can just spam Spirit Bomb with 1 singular Fracture. So while you're in meta, Fracture, Spirit Bomb, Fracture, Spirit Bomb. And then in single target, you know, it's pretty much the same rules. You Spirit Bomb if you have 4 or more soul fragments outside of meta, and then 3 or more inside of meta. But that's only if you're taking Fiery Demise and you have Fiery Brand on the target. If you don't have Fiery Brand up, most of the time you want to be Soul Cleaving, because you're not getting that 40% damage increase to your fire damage from Fiery Demise. You know, in that case, using Soul Cleave twice over 1 Spirit Bomb will do more damage. But that's pretty much it. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to leave a like. If you had any questions, leave a comment. And if you're interested in the UI in the video, there's a link to my Discord in the description, and my Twitch and Patreon. Like I said, $3 USD to get my UI on Patreon or Twitch Prime or whatever. So if you're interested in anything like that, there's links in the description, and I hope you guys enjoyed. Till next time, peace.